Welcome to America Today, where we bring you the latest on critical issues shaping the nation. Tonight, we're diving into the powerful press conference and rally led by Jeffrey Epstein's victims, demanding transparency and justice through the release of all Epstein files. Rally and press conference demand full release of Epstein files amid bipartisan push. Dozens of survivors participated in a rally and press conference organized by members of Congress who are leading a bipartisan effort to force the release of all the Epstein files. Dozens of victims of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein and their families joined lawmakers from both sides of the aisle on Capitol Hill on Wednesday to call for more transparency from President Trump and his administration in its handling of the case. No leniency, no deals, no special treatment. Sky Roberts, brother of the late Virginia Roberts Giuffre, who was one of Epstein's most well-known victims, said at a rally near the Capitol. The Epstein documents must be unsealed. Every name, every detail. No more secrets, no more protection for those who preyed on the vulnerable. We demand full accountability from every enabler, every accomplice, every person in power who turned a blind eye, Roberts added. As many as 100 survivors of Jeffrey Epstein and other victims of sexual abuse are expected to attend a rally Wednesday in Washington, D.C. as a bipartisan congressional effort gains steam to force the U.S. Department of Justice to make public its controversial files on the disgraced sex trafficker. Two lawmakers, Rep. Thomas Massie RKY and Rep. R.O. Khanna DCA, are pushing for a vote in the U.S. House of Representatives that would mandate U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi to release the files on the Epstein case. The lawmakers are holding a press conference 10:30 a.m. Wednesday on the steps of the U.S. Capitol with 10 survivors, some of whom have not spoken publicly before. In advance of the press conference, some 100 survivors are expected at a rally organized by several victim advocate groups near the Capitol. The voices of survivors have been omitted from the conversation for far too long, said Lauren Hirsch, National Director of World Without Exploitation, one of the groups organizing the event. This is the moment to stand united to ensure that those who've been exploited and abused are heard loud and clear. Epstein victims have mobilized in recent weeks as his convicted accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, appears to be pressing for a pardon from President Donald Trump. In July, she was interviewed by Deputy U.S. Attorney General Todd Blanche, and was then moved from a maximum federal prison in Tallahassee, Florida, to a minimum security prison in Texas. The lawmakers also could be using Wednesday's event as a form of public pressure. Massie and Khanna's resolution, if it passes the House, would then have to be passed by the Senate before going to President Trump for his signature. It's unclear how quickly Senate Republicans will want to bring the matter to the floor and whether Trump would sign it. Meanwhile, the House Oversight Committee is expected to meet Tuesday with a group of Epstein survivors. In recent weeks, they have issued subpoenas to prosecutors and other former government officials who they want to question about the various investigations into Epstein, who sexually abused more than 100 girls and women over 2 decades starting in the mid-1990s. Committee Chairman Rep. James Comer RKY is demonstrating his extensive efforts to retrieve any new information on the case. On Sunday, he asked Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent to produce any suspicious activity reports tied to Epstein and his sex trafficking network. The department is in charge of investigating the financial aspect of sex trafficking. The deadline for the documents to be turned over is September 15, and Comer said they were tied to the panel's investigation of the possible mismanagement of the federal government's investigation of Epstein and Maxwell. Thus far, no new information from the case has emerged. The Justice Department has only turned over its first tranche of files to the Oversight Committee, but Democrats said they contained mostly old information. No date for the next delivery has been announced. A New York financier whose source of wealth has always been shrouded in mystery, Epstein was first arrested in 2006 on allegations that he had sex with underage students from a Palm Beach, Florida high school. He ultimately pleaded guilty to minor solicitation charges and served a 13-month jail term in Palm Beach. In 2019, he was re-arrested on new charges in New York, following the publication of a Miami Herald investigation, Perversion of Justice, which detailed how Epstein and his lawyers successfully lobbied federal prosecutors to give him a secret plea deal, minimizing his crimes and providing unusual immunity to others involved in his sex trafficking operation. After Epstein's death, Maxwell, a British socialite who worked for Epstein, was indicted and convicted on sex trafficking charges. She is appealing her conviction to the U.S. Supreme Court. The Epstein case has garnered worldwide attention in part because of widespread conspiracy theories promulgated by Trump supporters and other social media influencers who claim there is an Epstein list of wealthy and powerful people who were involved in Epstein's crimes. Trump, who initially favored releasing the files, has faced a backlash from his supporters after Bondi abruptly announced in July that there was no list and the files would remain sealed. This came after she had promised supporters in February that the files were on her desk, then gave a group of social media influencers about 200 pages of documents that were of old material, long in the public domain. Last month, U.S. District Judge Richard Berman rejected a Justice Department request to unseal grand jury records involving the Epstein federal cases. Berman noted that the grand jury files represented a distraction from the real issue, which is that the Justice Department has the power to release all the relevant material involving Epstein to the public. The rally on Wednesday, held on the steps of the Capitol, marked a pivotal moment in the ongoing saga surrounding Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. 47 survivors, some speaking publicly for the first time, shared harrowing accounts of abuse, emphasizing the need for full transparency to achieve justice. Lisa Phillips, one of the survivors, stated during the event that victims have been discussing creating their own list of individuals within Epstein's orbit if the government continues to withhold information. 47 This sentiment echoed throughout the gathering, where participants chanted for accountability and waved signs reading, "Release the files," and "No more secrets." The event, organized by groups like Stand With Survivors and World Without Exploitation, drew a crowd estimated at over 100, including family members and advocates. 50 It preceded a press conference where lawmakers Massie and Khanna stood alongside survivors, amplifying their calls for action. Massie, a Republican known for his libertarian leanings, highlighted the discharge petition he and Khanna are championing, which has garnered 214 signatures and is close to the 218 needed to force a House vote. 9 inches This is about justice, not politics, Massie said, urging colleagues to prioritize victims over partisan concerns. 14. Khanna, a progressive Democrat, emphasized the bipartisan nature of the effort, noting that survivors transcend political divides. The voices of these brave individuals must be heard, he remarked, pointing to the recent release of over 33,000 pages by the House Oversight Committee as insufficient. 10 critics, including Democrats on the committee, have labeled the documents as largely redundant, consisting of already public material with heavy redactions. 4 Chairman Comer defended the release, stating it represents progress in the investigation into potential federal mismanagement. 0 However, survivors like Marina Lacerda, who spoke at the rally, called the tranche shameful, and demanded unredacted files to expose enablers fully. 52. This push comes amid renewed scrutiny of Ghislaine Maxwell's situation. Convicted in 2021 on sex trafficking charges and sentenced to 20 years, Maxwell was recently interviewed by Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche in July 2025. 71 sources indicate she downplayed President Trump's involvement during the discussion, stating she never witnessed him in inappropriate settings. 71 Following the interview, Maxwell was transferred to a minimum security facility in Texas, fueling speculation about a potential pardon. 73 Trump has not ruled out clemency, telling reporters last month that nobody's asked, but he is allowed to consider it. 72 Survivors at the rally vehemently opposed any leniency for Maxwell, viewing it as a betrayal of justice. 84. The Epstein scandal traces back decades. Born in 1953 in Brooklyn, New York, Jeffrey Epstein rose from humble beginnings to become an enigmatic financier. 92 After dropping out of New York University, he taught at the Dalton School before entering finance, amassing wealth through connections with high-profile figures like Les Wexner. 95 His criminal activities surfaced in 2005 when Palm Beach police investigated reports of underage girls at his mansion. 93 In 2008, Epstein pleaded guilty to state charges of procuring a minor for prostitution, serving just 13 months with work release privileges, a deal widely criticized as lenient. 93. Federal charges followed in 2019, accusing him of sex trafficking minors across states. 96 Epstein died by suicide in August 2019 while awaiting trial, sparking conspiracy theories about foul play. 98 Maxwell's 2021 conviction revealed her role in recruiting and grooming victims, with testimony detailing a network spanning New York, Florida, and Epstein's private island. 97 The case implicated numerous elites, though many allegations remain unproven. Conspiracy theories have proliferated, particularly among Trump supporters, alleging a hidden client list protected by powerful interests. 81 Trump himself once fueled such narratives but has recently dismissed demands for full release as a Democrat hoax. 83 In a recent Oval Office briefing, he compared it to the JFK files, suggesting endless dissatisfaction regardless of disclosures. 84 This stance has alienated some in his base, who view the administration's reluctance, echoed by Bondi's July announcement that no list exists, as a cover-up. 85 Social media has amplified these theories, with influencers and QAnon adherents claiming Epstein's death and file secrecy protect a global elite. 86 Posts on X, formerly Twitter, from users like @Massie highlight the petition's progress, while others, such as @MeJTruthUltra, question the motives behind the bipartisan push. 27 One viral thread from @DeBrosalivFree detailed the rally's demands, including keeping Maxwell incarcerated. 34 Critics argue these theories distract from victims, but they have kept public pressure alive. 87 The House Oversight Committee's actions add another layer. On September 2, 2025, it released 33,295 pages, including court transcripts and victim interviews. 12 Yet, much was previously public, prompting accusations of stalling. 4 Comer has subpoenaed former officials and requested Treasury's suspicious activity reports, due by September 15. 5 Democrats on the panel, like Rep. Jamie Raskin, criticized the pace, noting the files' redactions obscure key details. 21 Republican divisions are evident. While Massie and Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene support the release, House Speaker Mike Johnson cautions against the discharge petition, citing victim privacy. 13 Greene, at the press conference, vowed to expose clients, aligning with survivors like Chante Davies, who alleged Epstein boasted of Trump ties. 84 This internal GOP tension underscores the issue's complexity. 13 Trump's relationship with Epstein dates to the 1980s, when they socialized in New York and Palm Beach. 99 Trump banned Epstein from Mar-a-Lago after a 2004 dispute, and cooperated with investigations. 99 However, his administration's handling, including redactions and Maxwell's transfer, has drawn scrutiny. 74 Survivors like Haley Robson, a Republican, invited Trump to meet them, challenging his hoax label. 84 As Congress reconvenes, the discharge petition could force a vote, potentially overriding administration resistance. 16 Senate prospects remain uncertain, with Republicans wary. 19 Survivors remain resolute, viewing full disclosure as essential for healing and prevention. This is not a hoax, it's our lives, Phillips said. 47 The coming weeks may determine if transparency prevails or if the files remain shrouded in secrecy.